Welcome back to Wrestling is Terrible. I'm Jeremy, and I am joined, as always, with Tristan Glover, the martial arts film freak.
What up, everybody? We're going to talk some wrestling matches.
We got some good ones to discuss on this particular video. We're going to be talking about an AEW match that took place before the premiere of Rampage, if I'm not mistaken.
It was somewhere around there. It was very, very early on.
So before we get into this match, I got to ask you, there's been an episode of this new wrestling show from AEW that premiered on Saturday night. What did you think about it?
It was a fine wrestling show. It didn't do like anything. It didn't rewrite, the book or nothing. Honestly, the main point of it feels like, was opening with CM Punk cutting a big promo and being all angry and stuff. And then, there was some good wrestling on there. It wasn't a boring show. It was a good show, but it was a wrestling show.
So fans seem to be relatively divided on this CM Punk thing. Hit me with some context and then tell me how you feel about it. The abridged version. This goes deep, but talk to me about what happened here at this.
So CM Punk, I told you before, he came into the company, he saw some success. He hasn't been seen since a backstage fight with the Elite, with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and maybe Hangman, but I don't think Hangman was actually involved in the fight, but he don't like him. So he comes out with a bag with something in it and his wrestling boots wrapped around, like tied around his neck, and like just cuts a whole thing on I'm still the best and I'm angry and no one's gonna shut me up and all this stuff. And it was in Chicago, so the crowd went crazy. They were chanting "fuck the Elite" and all this stuff. And I just I don't know if I need that. I really don't. Like, just grow the fuck up. Oh my God. Something that makes WWE so easy to watch at times is that I don't need to know about the fucking backstage squabbling and who's fighting with who. What's going on TV? Is it good? And it's been good. And what's going on TV on AEW has been good. It's been great. But then I got to remember that I've got a bunch of grown men in the back fighting about shit. And I'm like, just be adults.
All right. Isn't this kind of CM Punk's kayfabe also?
I mean, yeah, it's part of his kayfabe, but then there's also some real stuff. I enjoy that the Young Bucks didn't have like a retort. He like their response was fun because it's something they're known for doing. He said that David Zaslav, because they're, I guess, sort of owned by Warner Brothers, or they have a partnership with Warner Brothers. He said David Zaslav calls me $1 bill Phil, which I thought he meant like $1. But he meant 1 billion, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
He said, because I'm the only genuine article in a company full of counterfeit bucks, saying that in reference to the Young Bucks. And the Young Bucks just replied by putting in their Twitter bio, if this was 2017, we'd have made that a t-shirt, which is some things they would do. People would talk shit about them and they would just make a t-shirt out of it.
So $1 bill Phil kind of sounds like a homeless guy that hangs out at the gas station.
It does kind of sound like that.
I heard a bit about the division here, and it kind of harkens back to what you and I were discussing last week, and that is that the audience seems to be relatively fickle. And I'm not pointing fingers at you, but then also I kind of am, but I'm kind of pointing fingers at everybody as well. It's like, don't people like the backstage drama of wrestling? Doesn't that kind of feed into the very thing that draws a smart mark to the sport?
There's elements of it to like, but what bothers me is like, it just creates like division among a fan base. And that's so frustrating because like there's people who are going to be now pro Elite. There's people who are going to be pro Punk. And yeah, it is sort of the storyline. So there's going to be some people that are like, well, part of the story, this is how I feel. But then there's going to be people who are like, no, in real life, the Young Bucks are pieces of shit or Phil's a piece of shit. And it's like I appreciate a competitive camaraderie between companies and between fans of those companies. I'm not part of the whole, AEW is better than WWE, WWE is better than AEW.
I know. I try to get you under my thumb to commit to one or the other, and you refuse to do it. It's boring.
Wrestling is on TV, and I will watch the wrestling. Let's just all enjoy wrestling together. You can say which one had a better show one week, but don't say one's better than the other, and be cool about it. Don't be a dick. And this is, I just feel like it's actually so toxic, the situation, that toxicity will breed more toxicity among fans of a single company and fans of a single company. It's also like dividing locker rooms of like who's friends with CM Punk and who's friends with the Young Bucks. And like I don't want the locker room divided. I want a locker room full of buds. I want a locker room full of friends.
My guy, you showed me one match of CM Punk, and it was him basically just destroying Vince McMahon and blowing up the WWE and running away with the Money in the Bank, running away with the title. Not that wasn't even a Money in the Bank one. So, how, was that kayfabe, or was that like legitimate, or was that a mix of both?
That was a bit of a work shoot, but that was one guy versus the company. That wasn't one guy versus other wrestlers that other wrestlers are friends with. Because you also go back to you of course go back to the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon. That was all kayfabe for the most part, really. But you know, it wasn't dividing a locker room.
I feel you. I get what you're saying. And it's interesting to me. I feel like this was inevitable with the return of CM Punk. I think just a lot of people were hoping that he would like tone down the CM Punkness of it. And I think he was kind of true to what at least my perception of him is.
I mean, yeah, no, he went full CM Punk and he kind of said, like, no one's gonna take that away from me. I'm CM Punk and I'll be CM Punk. And I don't mind that at all. Be CM Punk. MJF is kind of doing it. And like MJF is a dick and I love him. And I do like CM Punk. I do. I'm not trying to diss on the guy and be like, go away. No, I like CM Punk. I just wish that there wasn't something creating division within one single company.
Y'all let us know what you think about that down in the comments section, and we'll go ahead and jump into the reason why we're doing this video. And if you have watched an episode before, you know that Tristan suggests matches to me, kind of either historical moments or just really exciting fights that we watch over the week. We come back to discuss them. And on this particular video, we're going to be talking about an AEW match that was between Suzuki and Danielson. Kevin Danielson?
Bryan Danielson.
Ryan Danielson and Brian. Okay. And then what's Suzuki's name?
Minoru Suzuki.
And this was a clobber fest, but why did you pick this match?
Well, AEW has a pay-per-view coming up this Sunday, the 25th, I believe that is.
Okay.
And that is Forbidden Door. It is their second crossover with that company over there that got you flagged at one time. The one way up there in Far East.
Yeah, recent off the coast of China. That's what we refer to it as. No, it's New Japan. It was the weirdest thing. Tristan and I were doing a video, didn't even mention New Japan, and for some reason got flagged by them. But I'll contest it, dude. We're allowed to talk about it.
I think we were talking about titles, and I talked about how nice their title looks. Used to look.
You know,
and yeah.
Forbidden Door sounds like the butthole.
It do. That's what wrestling fans sort of call that bridge between companies that, you know, it's pretty much just called that because WWE almost never references other companies. Like they like to act, or they haven't really done it in the past year with Triple H in charge. But with Vince in charge, it's like, we're the only game in town. You don't talk about anybody else. So the idea of having a crossover with another company is the Forbidden Door.
Oh, okay. So Forbidden Door is coming up on the 25th. And how does this match tie into that?
I just figured we could watch a good AEW guy versus a New Japan guy.
Okay. Yeah. I got you. That makes sense to me. How this is a Forbidden Door. I didn't put it together at first. New Japan, AEW, Forbidden Door. Dude, I really liked it. Something that you and I have discussed, and I think it's a very important aspect of wrestling is the way that fans react to matches. And this crowd was on fire, dude. They were chanting shit I'd never heard before. It was like Wrestle Forever. Was that one of the chants?
Fight Forever, yeah.
Fight Forever. Dude, there were so many good. This is awesome. There were like so many moments in this match where people were just chanting holy shit, and it like really, you can tell it hypes up the wrestlers, but also like as a viewer, I was like so into that.
Something I love and I want to be a part of that chant so bad is you know how like Cody Rhodes during his entrance music, the fans go, "Whoa."
Yeah.
There's a part of that with Minoru Suzuki's entrance, but it's a Japanese phrase. So like the music goes on, goes on, goes on, and all of a sudden the whole crowd just chants like "Kaze ni nare" or something, which ends up translating to something like "freedom of the wind," which is just sort of this idea of his character is like an outlaw kind of thing. So it's like you can't tame this guy. He's the fucking wind.
He is pretty awesome. He's slightly older, I would
He's
say,
old.
than
He
Ryan
is an
Danielson.
MMA pioneer.
Oh, is that right?
He's like back in like the late 90s. He's like one, maybe even, you know, a little bit before that. He's like one of those dudes that helped sort of get MMA going back then.
Was he like fighting at the same time as like your Tank Abbotts or your Ken Shamrocks or your
Yeah, he would have been doing that stuff over in Japan.
wow, okay,
And
that's
so
super cool.
if you just throw a guess, you're not going to get it. Just throw a guess as to what his nickname is on the internet.
No, I don't even want to, man. I'm not gonna try to get myself canceled already.
Murder Grandpa.
Murder Grandpa. That's pretty far down the list of
But
guests.
yeah, but then somebody looked up a picture of him like back in the 90s, slick back black hair, like he's a greaser with like a leather jacket on. And people were like, oh, Murder Grandpa used to be Murder Daddy.
Yeah, I like him, dude. I would say a lot of the highlights of this match were, I think, are referred to as chops, where they're just standing in the middle of the ring and
Just
trading blows. A lot of like this, and a lot of like this.
Yeah, forward hands, just and then just throwing forearms to the jaw.
And it's not my favorite style of wrestling, but I'm starting to get the appeal of it. In particular, when the audience is like really into it in a way that I haven't been, because and we'll talk about it a little bit when we discuss the WWE match that we're going to be talking about. But like, I like what I consider to be almost more, I don't even know if realistic is the word, but to see two guys just like standing in the ring, letting each other punch them in the face. I get it. It's like, it's a show of dominance, the ability to take a beating, but it's not technical. It doesn't keep it moving very fast. So I feel like that's a style of wrestling. Like when we talk about maybe McIntyre, but more specifically that redheaded guy, Sheamus.
Yeah,
I don't
like
necessarily love their style.
Sheamus and Walter had or Gunther had a good one a while back.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. That was one of those PLE events that I watched. But there are some really great spots in this match. Like, what would you say some of the highlights to you were?
The first time I saw this match, there's a moment where they're trading blows, and Suzuki, like, you know, Brian Danielson just sort of lets him get a good shot on the jaw, and Suzuki hits him with the forearm, and the way Danielson just hits the ground, I was like, that's a great sell. I fully believe you're knocked out. I popped for that.
Yeah, that was a great spot. And there's this cool thing that Danielson does a couple times throughout the match where, like, kind of going back to the story side of it, where they're like kind of trying to show that they're both fucking hard as nails, when he'll hit the ground and then just kind of get back up and be like, ah, that was cool. There's one scene, or there's one moment where they're just like, Danielson gets up and he turns to the crowd and he fucking screams, and then him and Suzuki are like standing face to face and they just scream at each other. And I was like, that's pretty badass. I've actually never seen that before. And I thought like that intensity is really watchable.
Oh hell yeah. No, Danielson, the things he's been doing in AEW, I've been loving, where he just in WWE, he was for the most part a face. He used to be Daniel Bryan in WWE. Won the championship good handful of times. He was a heel he was a heel a good amount of times, but his biggest run was as a babyface, having one of the biggest moments in WrestleMania history. He beat both Randy Orton and Dave Bautista in the main event of WrestleMania 30.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a great shot of him just holding up both titles as he beat both of them. But for the most part, you know, people look at his run there as a face, and he came to AEW, and so he came just after CM Punk, I think, and CM Punk cut this promo when he came to AEW and was like, I can't wait to work with all the young guys in the back. I'm so excited. And then Brian Danielson comes in and he says, I don't want to work with the young guys in the back. I want to beat the shit out of the young guys in the back. And so that's just been his whole thing is like, I'm going to beat the shit out of everybody.
All right. Yeah. I'd never heard his name in context of WWE. I've heard, because we watched a pay-per-view event not too long ago. I have heard Brian Danielson's name come up, but I don't really know too much about him. What do they call him? The American Dragon?
The American Dragon. Yeah, he got that back in the indies back in the day. He was like a huge indie darling in the early 2000s. Started working for WWE, got fired for WWE, started working for WWE again, went on one of the biggest runs of the generation, one of the biggest baby faces of the generation, and then had to go into early retirement for neck and brain issues for too many concussions.
Oh shit.
And then he just sort of worked on that for a couple years, came back to WWE, won the championship again, turned heel, and then left.
Word association. When I hear Danielson, I think about Danielson. Does that make sense to
Oh,
you?
okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I understand. Yep, Karate Kid.
Yeah. For better or worse, I don't know. But every time I heard Danielson, I'm like Danielson or Danielson. But I get it now. There's one spot where they're both trading blows and they both come around and hit each other at the same time and both just fucking drop like a bag of rocks to the mat. That was cool.
Yeah, I always enjoy those. That's anytime you can. It's very similar. It's a smaller version of Logan Paul and Ricochet.
Oh yeah. That's actually a really good call. Yeah, to me, this was a great showcase of the amount that a crowd adds to a match. I don't know how I would have received it without just the sheer amount of enthusiasm that the audience brought to it. I thought that was super cool. And there were some good counters towards the end of the match. And this is kind of more the stuff that I always try to articulate that I like. And that's like when they'll go to do like twist their arm and they'll like roll over and then go in to put them into a submission and they'll like counter that and go into another submission. And it becomes like this like fluid motion of counters. And
we talked about this last week. What's that called?
oh shit. That's one that I don't remember. What's it called?
Chain wrestling.
Say it again.
Chain wrestling.
Chain wrestling. All right. Yeah. That one's going in my notes.
Yeah, as much as these two are total brawlers and we're just hitting the hell out of each other, they also are both incredible technical wrestlers. And so there was a lot of really good exchanges there. Yeah, Brian is one of the best guys you'll ever see do that.
What is Brian Danielson's finisher?
He has a submission finisher, sort of, and he has a striking one. His striking one is pretty much just like one big running knee.
Okay.
And then his submission one is sort of a crossface label lock, I think it's called, or he calls it. Back in WWE, it was called the yes lock.
Okay.
Have you ever seen at other events or anything? Because it became a pretty. It sort of took over as like a pop culture thing and not just a wrestling thing. You never saw people like pointing up in the air and going, yes, yes, yes. You never saw that? That became like a big thing, even at like sporting events. Like when something awesome would happen for like your home team, people would go, yes, yes. And that shit started from Daniel Bryan in WWE.
His finisher. That's cool.
That was sort of his chant.
Oh, got you.
Although he would do that like as he like you know, his before as he was like pumping up the running knee, waiting for like his opponent to get up, he would just start pointing up in the air.
Didn't you say his submission was called like the yes something?
Yeah, the yes lock. Yeah, but that stems from his chant there.
I got you. Okay. Yeah, I liked him. And to be honest, of the two matches that we watched on another video, we're going to be discussing a really good WWE match. I was really vibing on the AEW match, and I'm not going to say it's better or worse, just very different. But you had said something to me where you've said even a smaller crowd at an AEW show can feel more alive because it is sometimes just a more cult following, and they feel like they're there specifically for wrestling, less because it's like an event that you can go to and more like just because they love wrestling. And I feel like that just really carried a lot of this match to me. Like if you were going to say the reason why I showed you this is to show you how the AEW crowd can be compared to when you and I watched that pay-per-view event
in Vegas.
in
Yeah.
Vegas, and the crowd was kind of dead. This was exactly the opposite of that.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and speaking of that, there's an AEW show coming up in Nashville in August, and they've been in Nashville. They've been running the Municipal Auditorium, which is a smaller venue, still pretty good size, but it's smaller. And next they're running the Bridgestone Arena, bigger one. And I'm like, I kind of like y'all sticking to the auditorium. I kind of like y'all sticking to the smaller hall there.
Yeah, I get that. I feel the same way about stand-up comedy. It's like I would rather it be a tightly packed, smaller venue than a huge arena where A, you're likely to be way further away, and then B, it's less likely to feel as full.
Mm-hmm. Now, granted, I am very excited when WWE should be coming with WrestleMania. They said about 2027 in Nashville. They're probably going to be in the new stadium they're building for the Titans. Gonna be fucking expensive, but I'll fucking be there.
Yeah. That's awesome. Is that it'll probably be taped.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna
broadcast
be WrestleMania, so it'll be.
Yeah.
So they ran SummerSlam. They ran SummerSlam at the Nissan Stadium in Nashville last year. That's the Titans' current field. And it was huge. It was a huge success for them. And as I suspected, I figured this is a test run. They're seeing if they can run WrestleMania in Nashville.
$2,000
SummerSlam.
Is that how much it costs to get into WrestleMania, or am I
probably if you want ringside?
Okay. So all right.
I have no idea what it's going to cost. I just know it'll be way too much money.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I need to start saving now.
Dude, that sounds like such a fun event. All right, well, y'all let us, we're on WWE again. Y'all let us know what you think about AEW. Let us know what you thought about this match. If you've seen it, if you got some takes on either of the wrestlers that we discussed, we'd love to hear from you down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, subscribe to stay up to date with even more wrestling content, and check out the Martial Arts Film Freak on YouTube. There's a link down in the description. I'm Jeremy, and on behalf of both me and Tristan, until next time, be terrible. Peace.